What's up YouTube? So I thought today we would look at something that's very important, that of beading. Now any plasterer will tell you that the most important thing with plastering is to make sure your edges and your corners are on the money. So with that said, how do you bead like a pro? Now you see an awful lot of videos on YouTube where they say about getting a tape measure and then measuring the size, top and bottom, and then cutting the beads using a tape measure. I don't know any half-decent plasterer that does that. That's not a realistic way of cutting beads. All you need is your snips. Now one thing I will say when fitting skimming beads is to buy good ones. The cheap ones, which are at places like Wicks and B&Q's, they are rubbish. It's worth getting beads, something like catnick. They are excellent beads. It makes life an awful lot easier. But the first thing, it's usually best to do the longest bead first. It just makes life a lot easier. So keep the square edge on one end and then just push it against one side of the reveal and then just hold it up against the far end and then just snip it. Both sides. Couple of wobbles. Now all you want to do, so keep the square edge on and then just offer it up to the side, and then all you're initially going to do is just staple the middle, top and bottom, like that. That'll hold. Now what you want to do for cutting the sides, again, we see this a lot where people measure the side with a tape measure. That is not necessary. Most standard windows, at least in the United Kingdom, are less than 1200 high. These are 12.4 meter beads. So all you need to do is just use your snips and then rest them. Hold the bead in between the snips, and when it's balancing evenly, you know you've got roughly about the middle. So snip it and then fold it in half, and you can see I've snipped that, and that's the difference. So it's almost perfectly in half. Now, but because we know that most internal windows are less than 1200 high, all you need to do is offer it up to the window, push the bead up with your fingers, the top bead, and then just snip either side of the bead as you would before. Now what you're going to do is you're going to use the square edge, leave that on. You can just ever so slightly nip the corners if you want, but you want the manufactured edge at the top. And then you're just going to push it, push the side bead into the corner bead. And again, just staple the middle. Like so. And you'll do the same again on the side. So I'll also check the side as well. So we're going to put the manufactured edge. We're going to put the manufactured edge against the window board initially, push the bead up, and then snip it, like so. Wobble it up, turn it round, manufactured edge against this bead, and then push them together. And then again, make sure they're tight. Right, so now you've got them in place like that. What's the reason for just pinching the middles first? Well, very often what you see is if you've fixed the bead firmly all the way along, if the reveal you're fixing to isn't perfectly square, perfectly straight, sometimes you can get the bead to kink. If that happens and you don't correct it before you plaster it, that kink in between the two beads where they meet will stay the whole time. You don't want that. So now, by just the fact that you've fixed the middle, you can now adjust the bead so that they meet perfectly. Give them a tap to make sure they're tight. There we go. If you get any misfires with the stapler, just pull them out and then just go again. So if you were to now have a look at the beads, you can see that they meet perfectly. Show how well that's coming up on the camera. So what we'll do is we'll do that exact same thing on the other side. So I'm not sure how well you can see that on the camera. But what we're going to do is we're just going to pinch the two together and just make sure they line up properly. It's worth doing both sides, stapling both sides of the bead. There we go. So, and again, same again, you can see that they're perfectly in line. Once you've got the corners right, then you can go over and just add a few extra staples. Remember to fix the bottoms as well. And that is it. No need for a tape measure. All you need is your staple gun or your snips. If you're not using a stapler, that's no problem at all. There are other ways you can fix it. You can use, you can put it bedded on with plaster if you want, or there is also a tape which I think is called bead fix, something like that. It's exactly the same principle. Fix in the middle and then make sure your corners join up and then fix them together at the same time rather than fixing one and then the other. Doing so will guarantee that your beading always lines up in the corner, and when it's plastered it looks perfect. So it's just a quick tip just to really help those that maybe are struggling with beading, but also how to do it in a quick and professional way to make sure that you get the best standard possible out of your plastering. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. And by all means, subscribe, give it a thumbs up if you like. See you on the next one. Thanks.